rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. Hopefully tonight will be a lot better than last night. Wow. It's been a week. It's Friday! Yay. You know, one of these days I think I ought to grab that It's Finally Friday song. Anyway, or it's, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, there we go. All right. And from my perspective, the words G on the couch sounds like a very provocative drink. Oh, all right, folks. It's Friday. We're here. It's American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. And, yeah, we will have to see what's going on. Is it a new background? I don't remember. I've got a bunch that I haven't really tried in the past, so maybe this is a new background. But you can see some Chivas Regal right over here. And I've got Jack Daniels on this side right here next to the logo. And yeah, there's some it looks like Red Label, J&B, and a bunch of other things that are there. I don't know what the heck is. It's just an image, man. That's it. Oh, anyway. Anyway, all right. It's Friday, end of a long week. I'm here with you guys, and this is my like, I don't know. I don't know how best to describe it. This is sort of like my release, I guess, for the week or whatever, or for the day, every day. I don't know. Anyway, all right, let's go ahead and get things kicked off. Tonight, we have none other than Pops McGroin and partner with tonight's Pledge of Allegiance. They're over in the green room right over there. They're taking things up and getting things ready. They're getting their microphone ready. They're doing the little me, you know, that little thing. And there you go. And we'll go ahead and get them started. So, if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat. If you're wearing one, like me, place your hand over your heart and follow along with Pops McGroin and partner as they recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless America.
That's right. God bless America. God bless all of you who've joined here, and God bless all of our troops who are in harm's way. Anyway, if you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting or performing the pledge in your style. Take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, and attach it to an email. Send it off to me. Send it to fans, F-A-N-S, at americanperspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at americanperspective.online, and I will get you into the rotation. I've got 21 of these things. I'd like to get 26 of them by the end of 2026. So if you would, if you haven't already, please do so. Please do one and send it off to me. Send me that file. And if it's too big to email, you can certainly try one of the free versions of either Google Drive, Box, or Dropbox and create a link, a download link, and I should be able to then take that link and put it in the email, and I'll be able to grab it. I should be able to grab it and do what is necessary to get you into the rotation. Or if you do it on your phone, like a lot of them are, if you do it on your phone, you can use the share option. That's the SHARE option, and send it via the email address of fans@americanperspective.online. And I will take care of it at that point, of course. Which, by the way, real quick point, apparently Iran didn't want the share option, but that's the CHER option, because she was, at least according to something that 3 Chevy sent me, she apparently was supposed to go over there and do some sort of a, I don't know, peace benefit or something like that. And I don't know how old this is. I really don't. But Iran decided to pass. They told her no. Yeah, even if it isn't true, it's still funny. Oh, yeah, they did not take the share option. Anyway, so there you go. All right. So, Kat, you might want to check with Outlaw Dogs to find out if she's going to the Winter Jam 2026. Anyway. All right, let's get to today's headline sponsor, which is none other than theflagshirt.com. I hate it when it does this. Let me go back. And you go. All right, theflagshirt.com. I'm wearing the Fat Paws. That's the Liberty Bell, We the People men's cotton polo shirt. I love these shirts. I love these men's cotton polos, but I'm wearing it. We have, in honor of Fat Paws, because this was one of Fat Paws' favorite shirts, in honor of Fat Paws, may he rest in peace, we call this the Fat Paws here on the show. And so, yeah. Anyway, go and check all of their styles out. Go to theflagshirt.com. That's theflagshirt.com. Check out their men's, women's, made in the USA, kids, their accessories in red, white, and blue. And also definitely check out their America's 250th anniversary collection. You know, I heard somewhere through the grapevine that somebody in my Whiskey Warrior P1 family that's out there, that they ordered a shirt, a America 250 shirt from theflagshirt.com. And, you know, if you're out there, then definitely take a photo, send it to me. We'll get it on the show and we'll show everybody how stylish you look in the America 250 shirt. But go and check it out. Go and check out all of their offerings at theflagshirt.com. And if you order $75 or more, oh, well, I did not know that, Bonnie. I'm sorry. If I'd have known that, I would have worn it tomorrow. I would have grabbed a different one. Anyway, $75 or more of their product. That's okay. I could probably wear it again. $75 or more of their product at theflagshirt.com, and they'll give you free shipping. Free shipping for $75 or more of their product. But I know not everybody can get $75 or more, or even, you know, want to get $75 or more necessarily. And so I'm going to help you out. All you need to do is head on over to flagshirt.americanperspective.online. That's flagshirt.americanperspective.online. And if you go there, you'll be presented with a coupon code that you can copy and paste into the promo code box at checkout at theflagshirt.com and get yourself $5 off your order on American Perspective. That's flagshirt.americanperspective.online. That's flagshirt.americanperspective.online. And you'll be presented with a coupon code that you can copy and paste into the promo code box at checkout at theflagshirt.com. And get $5 off your order on us here at American Perspective. Go to theflagshirt.com and get yourself patriotized. And especially for the 250th anniversary coming up in July 4th. The real Independence Day. Anyway. All right. Well, we unfortunately have to, recognize the fact that we have 6 additional service members who have died. And unfortunately, it was an accident, apparently. There was a mid-air collision, is what they're reporting now. And it's a KC-135 refueling aircraft that went down in western Iraq. So all 6 U.S. service members aboard were killed, unfortunately. And so let's go back here and wrong button. Sorry. Let's go back here. And if you don't mind, let's take a moment and play taps for these service members and take a moment to pray for their family and friends. So if you are of mind, I would appreciate it if you would stand and go along with this. So a moment of silence for those service members. And as always, we pray for the families and friends of those brave warriors who unfortunately have lost their lives, doing what needs to be done in our American services, in service to America. Well, the Pentagon... After this, the Pentagon has announced that they are sending additional Marines into the Middle East. Apparently, the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit, consisting of roughly 5,000 Marines and sailors, is currently operating near Japan and is scheduled to head toward the Middle East for this. And they are set to reposition in the Middle East amid ongoing military operations against Iran. A U.S. official familiar with the matter told the Epoch Times. Other media outlets first reported that the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit, consisting around 5,000 Marines and sailors, had received orders to head to the Middle East. The 31st MEU is currently operating near Japan aboard the USS Tripoli amphibious assault ship and the USS San Diego and the USS New Orleans amphibious transport dock ship. Ships. So we're going to see what's going to happen with these folks. Obviously, the left is continually arguing about about ground forces in Iran and all this other stuff. Now, Trump has already said that ground forces, they're probably not going to happen, but he's not going to rule it out. Honestly, I got to tell you, I would not be surprised if ground forces do end up in Iran. There is a reason for it. Realistically, there is one oil outlet, and it happens to be on an island in the Strait of Hormuz that is a key transfer point, I'll put it, for oil. And if we are able to take care or take control of that, now keep in mind, we've already destroyed a vast majority of them, of their navy. So if we can go on to and get onto that island and take control of that oil field that is on that island, man, that would be a very good strategic thing for the U.S. to do in order to get further control and choke out the Iranian mullahs and their money. So that may be what this is for. That may be what this is for. But, you know, there's a lot of people, especially those on the left, who really have a problem. I mean, the leftists of today, I'm telling you, are just closet America-hating people. All they are is closet American-hating people. That's it. They hate America. They hate everything that we stand for. They blame America for everything. You know, they don't bother to, like, look at the entirety of the situation and go, you know what? Yeah, okay. Maybe it was our reaction, or maybe it was something that we did. Okay, fine. But blaming others is something that a leftist is really, really good at, except when it's defending America, because then they can't do it. They literally can't do it. Well, what is about to come up, what I'm about to show you, this short, well, fairly short video, is a, well, let's just say it's a Scott Jennings truth bomb. Yeah, Scott Jennings was back on the panel. You know the panel that's headed by that woman that made the mistake. Well, anyway, Scott Jennings decided to get sort of into it with a leftist panelist who is sitting right next to him. And, well, let's just say that things, well, you know, this panel gets a little heated and fiery, so just be prepared for that. Anyway, I'll let you listen to what happened.
Scenario, which is that no matter what happens with Iran and the United States, that there will be some sort of long-term consequences that we may not see in the next few weeks or months or years, but may come some decades later, just as we saw in 1979 with the Iran hostage crisis, which happened because of 1953 when we overthrew their democratically elected government.
Okay, so really quickly, this guy is Keith Boykin. He is a former Clinton advisor. A former Clinton advisor who is speaking here. So I will continue.
And the same thing happened when we saw 9/11. That was because of the United States involvement in the first Gulf War, and had a long-term effect.
The US
I'm not blaming the United States. I'm saying that.
Sounds like
I'm
it.
saying that what? Well, let me finish.
Sounds like
saying that when we take actions across the world, that there are consequences that we don't anticipate that can happen years later. And so when we wonder why people are coming after us, attacking us, because maybe because we were attacking them.
What did the first World Trade Center bombing? What was the cause of that one?
I'm sorry?
What was the cause of the first World Trade Center bombing?
I think that's irrelevant to this moment. I think the point is
That's probably Gulf War number one, but I mean,
that's not the point.
We're getting away from the point.
Yeah, I mean, look, I just to decenter us here.
The whole point is that things could happen later on.
The basic concept of actions and consequences, and some actions having unintended consequences. I don't know that that's really debatable. I think that's a basic principle of foreign policy that we've seen play out time and time again.
And the consequences of countries all over the world.
So on that question, I mean, is it fair for people to ask, what are the unintended consequences of this particular major action that the United States has taken?
I just want to go back to 9/11 for a second. The idea that the United States had it coming.
Never said that.
Is
never
insane.
said that. Don't put words in my mouth.
You did. You literally
I never said that. Let's have a no conversation. Let's have a no conversation.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm not going to allow you to sit here and lie about what I just said.
We did something and that caused it.
Scott, I don't even know why you.
I mean, we're going to roll the tape later, and everybody's going to
because the reason.
Okay. Oh my gosh, this guy, this Keith, whatever his name is, Boykin, is sitting right next to Scott Jennings, and Scott Jennings, of course, being the truth teller that Scott Jennings is, He told him, hey, you literally just said to us that the U.S. was the cause of 9/11. Now here, I'm going to back this up. Hopefully I'm going to get it right on the nose here, but I'm going to back this up. But listen to what he has to say right here.
We saw in 9/11, that was because of the United States involvement in the first Gulf War, and had a long-term effect.
Right there. Right there. How else can you take that? How else can you take that? Keith, buddy, you just said that the reason why 9/11 happened was because of the U.S. involvement in the first Gulf War. How much more clear can you make it? And, of course, a little bit later on, he's sitting here and he says what he said. Let's see if I can find it. Because, where is it? It's right about... Where is it? It's right about... Yeah. And I think this is it.
No.
You literally
never said that.
Let's have a no conversation. Let's have a no conversation.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm not going to allow you to sit here and lie about what I just said.
Oh, not going to lie about what you just said. Well, here's what you just said yet again. Right here. And
9/11, that was because of the United States involvement in the first Gulf War, and had a long-term effect.
The U.S.
I'm not.
there it is, right there. He's basically sitting there saying that he's blaming the United States for the first Gulf War, or for 9/11, because we got into the first Gulf War. Folks, look, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm just going to point this out. I am getting extremely, well, my patience is starting to wear a little thin with these people. Because what they do is they say, oh, yeah, I didn't say that, when they said exactly that. Oh, I didn't say that, when they said exactly that. And I'm sorry, but, you know, when I was growing up, my parents... I didn't grow up necessarily poor, but I didn't grow up necessarily well off either. Okay? And I, myself, I know that my parents made a lot of hard choices. Whether it came to finances or whether it came to, being physically able to go and do things, whether it was, timing issue, whether or not they had the time and the ability to take me places or whatever. Seriously, being an adult, honestly, is basically, for the most part, a time management thing. You are literally a manager. You're a manager of time. You're a manager of finances, if you're the one in charge of the finances. You're a manager of all kinds of things. You're a manager. You manage expectations. You manage, and sometimes you have to make hard decisions. Sometimes you have to make hard decisions. Sometimes you have to be the bad guy. Sometimes you have to be the one that puts the foot down and does the punishment for, your children doing something bad. And some people, we have adults. We have some adults. Some in the government. There's not many, unfortunately. But there are some. And we need to make some hard decisions here. We need to make some hard decisions. Number one, we need to understand, and this is part of the challenge that we've had in the past, is that we've only gone in, whenever we've done one of these things, we've only gone in and done things halfway. We've never finished it off. And I don't believe that Trump, in this particular case in Iran, is going to do things halfway. We had a relative child in the office of the president back under Obama because he thought that appeasement was the way to go. But, folks, and I'm going to explain a little bit further in terms of the money aspect here in just a few minutes. We need adults. We need real adults. We need adults who can sit here and go, you know what? You may not like the decision, but it has to be made. One of the things that the adults in the room have to make the decision on is the fact that we've got people who are running around this country who have been released into our society by the childish non-adults in the room. One of them shot up Old Dominion. This guy, reportedly, he was released from prison early. Now, here's the thing. He was a naturalized citizen. He was constantly in trouble. He was released from prison, and despite the fact that he admitted to help plot an attack against the U.S., we still allowed him in our country. Now, I know it doesn't sound fair. It isn't right to give somebody, naturalization or whatever and then yank it later. But you know what? This is ridiculous. Common sense and logic need to come back into our society, and especially need to come back into our government. We need to sit down and make some serious hard choices here because the children, the inmates running the asylum have turned this country upside down, not only in its social constructs, but also the deviation from our original founding documents, also from the deviation in terms of all of our spending and money. Now, keep in mind, this isn't something brand new. This is decades worth of mismanagement. Mismanagement that needs hard choices to be made in order for us to get back on track. We need to get hard, strict. We need to be inflexible when it comes to allowing people into our country. It's not racist. It's not misogynist or Islamophobic or anything else to want to have a safe neighborhood. It's not any of those things to want to have Americans gain the money aspect first. To be able to take advantage of this great country first. It's not any of those things to sit there and say, you know what? I'm sorry, but we can't supply you with things that are not in the Constitution of the United States anymore. We are spending, to kind of shift gears here into the financial, we're spending more money than we're taking in, people. We are spending way more money than we are taking in. And unfortunately, we are going to have a hard conversation about this stuff. Because here, let me just show you a graph, okay? This is our I'm going to try and zoom in here. This is our federal revenue. Now, keep in mind, for the federal revenue, this is everything that we've been bringing in. This federal revenue, okay? Everything that we bring into the government. And right now, we're collecting roughly around $5 trillion. $5 trillion. Just a little over $5 trillion. Now, this revenue is coming from a multitude of sources. It's coming from things like estate and gift taxes, which Well, look at that. That's right up here. The estate and gift taxes. You have customs and duties, small portion. Excise taxes, small portion. You have miscellaneous income, but they don't even describe what that is. Then you have corporate income, meaning what they tax corporations. You have Social Security and Medicare taxes. That's actually a special, that on itself is a special category because that money can't actually be used, reportedly, according to law, can't actually be used anyplace else. And then you have the individual income taxes, which, as you see, is that this bottom part right here, brings up the most part of the government's income. And one thing you need to understand in terms of the government's income, government doesn't make anything, but government can print money and devalue it, but government makes nothing. Government does not have a asset ability. They don't have ability to like buy and sell assets and all kinds of things like that in order to make money. They don't have the ability to create a product in order to make money. So the only way that they're getting money is essentially off of all of our taxes. Now, up until 1913, by the way, for those of you that don't know, from 1868 to 1913, 90% of all federal revenue came from taxes on just liquor, beer, wine, and tobacco. Because it wasn't until 1916 that they created the income tax. Now, all of that being said, we don't necessarily have an income problem, folks. What we have is a spending problem. And honestly, it hasn't really changed much over the years, but I mean, as far as percentage-wise necessarily, but there is a, yeah, here's the chart. There is a spending issue that we have. And I'm just basically going to outlay it like this. We're spending money on things that we are not constitutionally, as a whole for the federal government, required to provide. Now, wait, what are you talking about? I mean, I've said this multiple times on this on my show here. Here's the top spending by category for this year, fiscal year to date in 2026. Social Security, Medicare, the interest on all of the loans that we've taken in order to continue to fund our government. Because if we don't take in enough money, then what ends up happening is we have to borrow money in order to make and take care of all of our debts. We've been doing that for decades. And it's starting to catch up to us because it's creeping up to be the third largest item on our expenditures list. Fourth is health. Fifth is what our Constitution actually has. Out of the 18 enumerated powers that the government is supposed to have, 6 of them are directly related to national defense. And we have things like income security, veterans benefits and services, education, training, employment and social services, transportation, and the administration of justice rounds out the list of all of the top 10 spending by category. And this article came out in the Federalist. And the other night I mentioned that, Social Security is not something in particular that is in the Constitution as a requirement of spending for the federal government. Social Security was originally designed to be a temporary program, but as you all know, whenever government gets money, it's no longer temporary. Now, here's the problem. And this is going to sound really, really bad, but here's the problem. We, according to the Federalist and their analyses, we could completely get rid of Social Security and it wouldn't balance the budget. Because even though Social Security is the number one expenditure right now, it still wouldn't balance the budget. And so we can't just target one singular program in all of this. One singular program is not going to help us, except. Let me explain how this works. Now, the Congressional Budget Office, they release their annual projections of the budget and the economic outlook for the coming decade. They do this all the time. As usual, the projections look pretty bad. They estimate a deficit of nearly $2 trillion, 1.853 to be precise, this fiscal year, and over $23 trillion in cumulative deficits over the coming decade. Now, the thing about it is that we have essentially three major buckets in spending, okay? The first is in terms of federal government spending. Three distinct buckets. One is discretionary spending. And what discretionary spending means is basically the stuff that most everybody would consider when they think about the federal government. For an example, it includes most of the funding for our military. It includes things like border security. It includes funding for things like education, transportation, and interstate highways, the federal prison systems, national parks, the National Institutes of Health, and a bunch of other things. The discretionary budget includes all programs that, of course, were shut down in last October. All right. Now, there is another bucket, and this one is a major healthcare program. Now, keep in mind, discretionary spending is about $1.88 trillion for this fiscal year is what's on the budget. Major health programs have $1.908 trillion this fiscal year, and this category doesn't include just Medicare and Medicaid, but also Obamacare exchange subsidies, the Children's Health Insurance Program, all of these major healthcare programs that are out there. And then you have the third bucket. And the third bucket is Social Security. Now, Social Security is $1.666 trillion this year. And this category, of course, is going to grow rapidly because of the change in the workplace and the workforce. The older folks are going to move on. We already had the boomer generation move on, and now we're going to have the Gen Xers because Gen Z isn't quite as big as Gen X and millennials. And I don't even know all of those. But anyway, now the buckets, those three buckets also exclude things that are other programs like student loans, welfare, food stamps, farm bill aid. They also exclude any of the interest cost, which again is rising exponentially at this point. And so, and those by themselves, by the way, are scheduled to exceed $1 trillion this year. Now, if I do some quick math here, we're talking about 2, 4, 5.5 roughly, and then $1 trillion would be 6. So we are spending, or we're doing an expenditure of roughly, an expected expenditure of roughly $6 trillion. We bring in a little over $5 trillion. We're running a deficit. So how do we go and balance the budget? How does the U.S. do this? Well, I'm just going to tell you, we have to make some tough choices. But here's the thing. if we eliminated, and this is where we have those buckets. Once you remember the three buckets, you have the discretionary spending, the major healthcare programs, and Social Security. These are three buckets of money that we usually, that those of us who really want to take a look at this stuff want to try and carve out from, okay? But here's the thing, according to this piece in the Federalist, if we were to eliminate all funding for the military along with all other discretionary spending, remember that first bucket? What most people would consider to be generally the federal government's real job, real stuff, we would end up with a small surplus of about $27 billion alone just in this fiscal year. Now, if we took out Social Security, both the benefits for the individuals with disabilities and the old age retirement program, we actually would still run a budget deficit of $187 billion this fiscal year. That's right. We're running a deficit. So if we were to remove the discretionary spending, which is what everybody thinks of government, that's what they think of for the most part, is the discretionary spending. And that would have given us a surplus of $27 billion. But if we take out Social Security, that actually gives us a deficit of $187 billion. Because Social Security isn't going to cover the budget. Here's the big one, though. If we got rid of the health care benefits, now keep in mind, if you look up Article 1, Section 8 in the Constitution as to whether or not the federal government is responsible for anybody's health care, I maintain they don't have a responsibility for this. This isn't what Americans' taxpayer dollars are supposed to go to. But if we were just to repeal Obamacare, Medicaid, and by the way, that's both Obamacare's expansion to able-bodied adults and the portion of the cover of that covers pregnant women and individuals with disabilities Medicare, and the Children's Health Insurance Program, we would run a small surplus of $55 billion. Folks, you need to understand, we don't have an income problem. We have a spending problem. See, the U.S. government has expanded itself beyond the constitutional borders, and this is part of the reason why I sit here and I explain on this program and I advocate all the time. The 10th Amendment, if it properly enforced, would have prevented all of this. It would have prevented all of this. So yeah, Bonnie points out pregnant women get Medicaid. When I listed that out, pregnant women, all of that was in Medicaid. And then Medicare was included. Folks, and honestly, when you lump in things like the food assistance program like SNAP, which by the way, the FDA is being sued right now because the health department or whatever pulled the amount of, pulled all of the sugary sweets and everything else. And so now they're being sued because people want that back on. But anyway, the point that I'm making is that if the federal government were to get back inside its constitutional boundaries, we would have a surplus. We would be able to fund everything that you would normally think of, along with Social Security, because a lot of people, they want that Social Security. But keep in mind, I still think it should be abolished. I just think that we can do it we got to figure out a way to do it in a smart fashion. But the point being is that if we just got rid of all of the stuff that is unconstitutionally been added to our federal government, we wouldn't have a deficit in the federal government. We wouldn't have to run a deficit. We literally, the American government could actually run on a balanced budget. Now, of course, Congress would never seriously consider taking any of that away. Okay? Congress would never consider taking any of that away because they're too afraid to lose their jobs. Which here, this is exactly why I'm saying we actually need true adults to make these tough decisions, because otherwise we're just kicking the can down the road and we're borrowing from our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren and our great-great-great-grandchildren. And eventually we're going to run out of people to borrow from. And then all of a sudden, we're no longer going to be able to function. Yeah. Now, solving our budget crunch, solving our problem here is just really, really very clear. Which is essentially that we need to start making tough choices. We need to start being the adults in the room. And this goes even beyond that into the social aspect. Like I was pointing out with the Old Dominion shooter. He was here and admitted that he was going against America. If you're against America, why the hell are you here? We need to get you out. If you're going against America, you need to go. I don't care what your religion is. I don't care what your skin color is. If you hate America, what the hell are you doing here? Get out. And we should force them out. Another thing that has been consistently under attack for all of this time is things like immigration, which is 100% a federal government responsibility. And as of right now, the DHS is completely shut down, which includes the Border Patrol and ICE. And the Democrats and in the Congress and the Senate, they just took off. They just left for the weekend because, you know, they don't need to worry about their money. They don't need to worry about getting paid. They're getting paid regardless. But we need actual, real adults all across the board. Some adults came in, believe it or not, in the First Circuit. A federal appeals court, also in the Federalist, a federal appeals court temporarily blocked a lower court ruling on Wednesday that sought to hinder the government's deportation operations. In its short order, the 3-judge panel for the First Circuit Court of Appeals placed on an administrative stay, known as a pause, on a recent decision by a district judge, Brian Murphy. Brian Murphy, a Biden appointee, not that I really care about that, but just kind of may give you an idea of where they're coming from. He issued a ruling last month declaring that the administration's efforts to deport illegal aliens to third countries, nations other than the individual's country of origin, to be unlawful and blocked its enforcement. Well, the two judges, two of the part of the circuit panel, the First Circuit panel, said after careful review, an administrative stay temporarily pausing that order is appropriate. They also indicated their intent to promptly issue a complete ruling on revoking the lower court's blockade. See, folks, we need to actually get back to the point where people like our judges and our justices, they all understood and know the Constitution, and that, yes, not everybody is going to succeed in all of this. That we, as America, while we are the land of plenty, we don't have unlimited resources here. We don't have unlimited capability to just hand out money to everybody. We just can't. Now, by the way, Murphy, who has a history of openly defying U.S. Supreme Court orders, this ruling comes as another humiliating moment for this guy, but apparently he's not going to care. I'm just going to tell you, he's not going to care. So, yeah. Well, there's another judge, another couple of judges. One judge in particular. This one here, this is the Ninth Circuit Court, so this is probably going to end up at the Supreme Court. I'm just going to be telling you. So for those of you that don't know, here in Washington, we have a lot of liberal idiots. We have a lot of leftist idiots. And there is a case with regards to a Korean all-female traditional Korean nude spa here in Washington. Now, the traditional Korean owners, or the Christian owners, I should say, of this spa, they basically said, well, no, if you are a male, biological male, regardless of what you identify as, you are not allowed in this spa. And apparently there was this case came up because they were accused of discrimination in 2020 when they refused access to a biological, fully intact male who identified as trans. They blocked him from getting in the all-female, traditional, woman-only, fully nude spa. Well, the Ninth Circuit Court upheld the fact that they ruled that they were sorry, I'm mincemeating this because I'm trying to figure out how to say it. So the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals upheld and ruled against the spa, holding that the First Amendment rights of the owners had not been violated by the state requiring them to admit fully intact males into this nude only, women only spa. That because the state required this business to accept, regardless of whether they've gone through transition or not, this fully intact male, they and they were against the idea, and the original court sided against the spa. They appealed. The Ninth Circuit Court sided against the spa. Well, this isn't really surprising, and trust me, I think it's going to go to the Supreme Court, but this isn't really surprising. What is surprising, though, is there was a dissension. Judge Lawrence Van Dyke, he wrote in his dissension, he writes, this is a case about swinging dicks. And let's just say his colleagues were not pleased about this. He says, he wrote also, sometimes it feels like the supposed adults in the room have collectively lost their minds. Woke regulators and complicit judges seem entirely willing, even eager, to ignore the consequences that their Frankenstein social experiments impose on real women and young girls. Yet if harmful and unfortunate consequences were all this case was about, we'd have to shrug and say that's what comes with living in a democracy. Unless the Constitution is implicated, we get what we voted for, quote, good and hard. He says, but some fundamental rights, like the right to the free exercise of religion, are constitutionally protected precisely to avoid majoritarian infringement. Unfortunately, in this case, the panel majority has allowed Washington state bureaucrats to trample on such rights long secured by the Constitution. Now, I'm just going to point out there have been a couple of cases that have gone to the Supreme Court. Most recently, a coach praying on the field that got overturned by the Supreme Court, that religious freedom is allowed in the country regardless of whether you are on school grounds or not. That was a football coach that was praying on the field after the games or before the games, whatever it was. Van Dyke continued, and he just tore apart the Ninth Circuit Court, which, by the way, just so you know, the Ninth Circuit Court, I believe, still holds the record for being the most overturned court in the nation. But anyway, he points out Washington law against discrimination is not generally applicable because it treats comparable secular activity more favorably than the SPA's religiously motivated activity. That same application is not neutral because it facially differentiates among religions based on theological choices by granting an exemption only to a small set of favored religious activities. And he says the law's woke redefinition of sex undermines the hard-fought legal protections granted to women as a class and undercuts established criminal laws against voyeurism and indecent exposure. Which is exactly the problem. Folks, we need adults. We need adults in the room. We can't have these people who are running around just making up this crap. Seriously. Yeah. Yeah, apparently neither one of his cohorts were really happy about this. And they kind of got a little upset. And Van Dyke said in response to that, he's like, my distressed colleagues appear to have the fastidious sensibilities of a Victorian nun when it comes to mere unpleasant words, in my opinion, yet exhibit the scruples of our dearly departed colleague, Judge Reinhardt, when it comes to the government trampling on religious liberties and exposing women and girls to male genitalia. That kind of selective outrage speaks for itself. The public deserves a court that is actually trustworthy. We should be earning that trust and not demanding it like petty tyrants. He added, sometimes dignified and civil words are employed to mask legal abomination. Some coarse and ugly words bear the truth. Yeah. Yep. Anyway, we got to get control of this, folks. We really do. And if we give up the midterms, if we give up in the midterms, don't show up for the polls, don't show up to go and vote, do the 10-10-10 rule by Dan Bongino. If we don't fight to keep our republic and our principles and values on the forefront of this country, okay, we're going to lose it. We're going to lose it. I cannot believe this. We just need to, yeah. We're going to lose it because we're giving it up. Anyway. All right, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor. If you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com. Get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time that I go live. Also, too, don't forget to give me those thumbs up, thumbs downs, or in the case of 3 Chevy, thumb sideways, across all of my platforms, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, or, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night. 6 p.m. It's 1 hour later. 6 p.m. Pacific. 9 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening. Head on into the weekend, folks. I'm about ready to go drink. Good night, everybody.